Welcome to the EST Hangout.
This is the EST Hangout, and today's guests are...
A good Wednesday morning to you. Welcome to the EST Hangout, live on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. We're live on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, YouTube as well. Thanks to all those listening to the podcast. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola with you here. A fun hangout for us today. Shawn Belle will come by about 9:30. Him and I will swap out, but we have two MacTavishes in the studio. We got Craig and Shawn. Welcome. Craig, you're back. Actually, from your first appearance, we have an award show coming up next week.
I can't believe you guys had me back.
Had to.
Well,
that is unbelievable.
Well, we
got MacTavish squared.
But we have an award show happening next week, and you are one of the finalists for the Hangout Guest of the Year.
Really?
So you might win a prestigious Esty award for yourself.
Are you waiting to see if the other two guys won't come before you offer it to me?
Well, the voting,
I know how it works.
It's down to a committee of 4. Actually, one of the committee members I know really likes you, so there's a chance that
you win it.
You could come out with an Esty in our first ever year.
Wow.
What would be bigger to you, a Stanley Cup or an Esty?
Well, I mean, I mean, everybody, shoots and is, trying to get an Esty. And,
clip it.
I'm saving just that part.
Everybody but me. Then.
Potentially me too.
We'll get you there. This is your first show.
This is for next year, 2025. You're trying to be on the nomination list, so like pressure.
What are the requirements?
Being good.
Yeah,
I guess. I don't know.
We'll see.
People loving you. Just a great hangout, I guess, overall.
Okay.
I don't know. You've got the bloodline now, so if he did it on his first appearance, it should be a breeze for you, Shawn.
Craig dropped some great zingers and one-liners on his first appearance. I know you're capable of it. I don't think your talent is as refined, just because your dad's been doing it longer. But I think somewhere in there you can pull it off.
I would agree with you there.
Thank you.
Yeah. I will say right off the bat, probably the best sitting I've seen in the hangout. You've got the nice casual.
It's
I love
like
it.
The hockey player, the hockey players, they sit cross-legged. It always seems. I don't know. It's just kind of comfortable, but
I think it's the best one right now.
Yeah.
So there you go.
You got it figured out. That's impressive. Text us 780-218-9999 if you have any questions for MacT or Shawn. Fire those our way. And if you're watching, are you watching the nasty chat on YouTube? Okay, I'm not. Okay, I have show and tell. I'm just gonna get it out of the way. Joaquin Gage now does EST afternoons with Hernan Salas from 1 to 3 here before the Reed Wilkins show.
Before you continue with that, let's make show and tell brought to you by AccuSteel Heavy Haul Trailers, custom manufacturing of heavy haul trailers for mining, oil and gas, equipment, highway transportation, trusted by the leaders in the heavy transport industry. Get on the road with peace of mind for your large loads, AccuSteel.ca.
I love how you're sliding these liners in right off the hop. Well done, Matthew. Okay, so my parents moved recently, and they need to get both vehicles in the garage. And so they have boxes from my brothers and I. I was over there last week, and they're like, "Kate, you have 5-6 boxes. You need to condense and take these to your place." And I was like, "Nah, just leave them." And they're like, "No, seriously."
The drama's killing me.
I know.
Now, Tom.
Anyway,
show me the picture.
Are you saying get on with it? So it's the 2000-2001 Edmonton Oilers. You were the head coach. Great photo. A lot of recognizable faces here. And I showed it to Joaquin.
Belsie's already here.
And Joaquin still had hair. And then he wrote that. And if you don't mind reading it out, he signed it. We'll get it framed and post it up here in the studios.
I just want to say
yeah, look how young we're looking. Well, Joaquin, you should have played me more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I remember you telling me you wished you had.
I had very little experience there as a coach, and I was naive enough to think that, hey, I'm just going to play the best goalie we have, and that wasn't Joaquin. Tommy Salo actually was a fantastic goalie for us for a lot of years.
Yep.
And we did a roast with Joaquin a few years ago.
You were great.
And had a few laughs at Joaquin's expense. We'd put in him in for the one-timers and the high shot, high corner shots and the slot deflections. And
he loves those.
Yeah, he'd come home with a lot of bruises. But we didn't want Tommy, in hindsight, sometimes you got to go with your second best goalie, but we weren't in that mindset at the time.
That, he handles it really well. I remember seeing you at that roast, and you were about to go up, and you're like, Tommy, what did I get myself into? And I was like, you'll be fine.
That was pretty crude.
It was.
Yeah, it was. I've never been part of anything like that, and I was part of it last year, too, with Kevin Lowe, but that's the end. But it's for a great cause.
No more
it's
of
for a
those.
great
No
cause.
more.
Yeah.
Sean Belle in studio now. Matty Iwanyk stepped out. I just showed Craig MacTavish the 2000-2001 Oilers that Joaquin said should have played me more and signed it. We're going to put it up in the studio. What do you remember about that team?
Well, look how young Pat LaForge looks. I mean, Sliver and, oh, God, that's 23 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a lot of water under the bridge here, but, the thing I remember about this cast of characters is there were a lot of characters on this team, and we had a lot of heart as a group. And a lot of these guys I still really enjoy running into today. Obviously, Ryan Smith and Todd Marchand, Doug Waite, Mike Greer is the manager of San Jose, and one of my all-time favorites, Jason Smith. Mike Comrie played well for us too. Igor Ulanov, Ethan Morrow. I mean, yeah, we had a cast of very committed, hardworking guys, and we could rip the cover off teams, and did quite often. I mean, we were a hard physical team to play against. We didn't have the type of talent that the current Oilers have. Who does?
Right.
I mean, outside of the 80s Oilers, but no, we just had Anson Carter, Eric Brewer, who owns Prince George in the Dub with Mark Lamb, was assistant coach. So all those relationships, most of them are still alive, and just what great teammates they all were.
That team was Doug Waite's last year, and Shawn recognized. I showed it to Shawn. I'm like, I'm going to show it to your dad, and he recognized there. He's like, how many guys do you remember? And I think was it Sliver? I didn't know. And Mark Lamb, I thought, was Daryl Duquette.
Yeah, but you got
first.
it.
Yeah, and happy with hair.
Yeah.
Chris Hamlin's or Chris Davey, pardon me. That team. That was Dougie Waite's last year. Like I said, I think you guys finished 6th, and ended up playing who that year?
Was it Dallas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys gave them a bit of a run. It was too bad because
a bit of a run.
The 5 straight years against the Stars.
They were a powerhouse. They were tough, but I mean, they were real physical series too as well.
Yeah.
And Big George was a big part of that, and Frank Musil was even on this team. Wow, I don't even remember working or coaching Frank. Maybe it was and Brownie, Shawnee Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys, a lot of these guys, I still see, and great cast of characters. George used to go after. We were in Dallas this year for an alumni game, and the Oilers played in the afternoon, and then we played after, so some of the fans stayed to watch that. But I remember Darian Hatcher going, I mean, he'd just come back over to our bench and say, Mac, I'm not fighting this guy, so quit putting him out there when I'm out there. I said, I wasn't doing that. That's all on George.
Right.
And George used to chase him around because Darian was such a force back then, and he was a bit of a bully too.
Yeah.
And but he didn't. He was smart enough to stay away from Big George.
If you had him in this area, Darian Hatcher, in this era, how many suspensions do you think he would get?
Yeah, he was pretty liberal with his stick.
Yeah, he was.
That's for sure. And I don't think he really loved the heavy physical part of the game, but he was, he had the skill set to provide that role.
Wasn't it him that basically hit Roenick high? Like, it was after a sequence of events, obviously. I think Modano got hit dirty in a game, and then Hatcher basically came back and was like, okay, this is going to happen to Roenick, and he jumped and kind of elbowed him right in the face, and I think he dislocated his jaw, broke his jaw. I think that was Hatcher, right? That time?
I can't remember.
I think you're right.
Yeah, but he was
that jaw was always moving.
It certainly was.
I don't think it stopped.
No, it didn't stop.
Since he retired.
Yeah. But no, Hatcher was he was a physically imposing human being.
How do you remember those years? I mean, you would have been, what, 4 or 5?
I would have been 6 there. Yeah, I mean, I remember the physicality and you know, how hard the kids, how hard the players played. I mean, that was kind of what stuck in my mind the most. I mean, I don't remember too much, but went to a lot of games, that's for sure.
Yeah, I bet you did. Did you get to know any of those guys? Do you still talk to them every now and then?
Yeah, well, we do, my dad and I, we do a tournament out at West Edmonton Mall every summer, so we're pretty fortunate to get a lot of guys. A couple guys from that team were able to come this summer. We get Belle's come a couple years. We had Brownie last year. So, yeah, you know, you do build some of those connections for sure, even as the coach's son.
You and I do Gretzky Hockey School together, and you didn't do Coeur d'Alene. You did Coeur d'Alene early in the year, right?
Yeah, a couple weeks in Coeur d'Alene.
And
yeah.
I did the last one, and there was this one kid out of Calgary named Colt. And he was wearing a MacT Classic T-shirt, and he knew I was from Edmonton. Best kid to deal with, always a competitor. You and I would do baseball and soccer or team building, and he always wanted to win. And I was like, oh my God, this Colt kid, he's so annoying, so annoying. And then he's like, hey, did you know I was at the MacT Classic? And I was like, yes, I heard you scored the game winner. So tell us about the MacT Classic, because this is starting to become a thing. And I've heard too, like Laddie Schmid got kicked out, and Gager was coaching, and Bucky was on the bench, and this is now turning into a bit of a thing, and it's starting to get some momentum.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we're starting to grow it a little bit. Like you have to. It's a tournament for 9-year-olds. It's a little bit of, we started it pre-brick. You know, it's the top kind of 9-year-olds, and then my dad will get 4 or 5 of his buddies to coach the 5 teams that we put together, which are all the teams that my dad played for. So the Oilers, the Blues, Rangers, Flyers, and Bruins, I think. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We've done 3 years now, and we're always looking forward to it, and hopefully we can get Bellsy back out.
Well,
Belzy's getting pretty busy, and Shawn does the majority of the work, I'd say. I just show up, but he fills it, and it's never... it's always full at the end, but it's always a great experience. It's maybe my favorite hockey experience is these 9-year-olds are hilarious.
And they're good, too.
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he gets good kids to come out from all over the province. And one year we had a bunch of native kids from Hazeltine that came out, and that was that really added an element to the whole thing. But the kids they haven't been screwed up by the coaches or the parents at this point yet. At 9 years old, they have all the qualities still in place that we hold in high esteem. Like, they support each other, they work hard, they're passionate about the game, they care about winning. And, they get beat in the elimination games, and there are tears everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep. Big time.
I remember one kid, it was a funny story, that he took a penalty, and he served a penalty. He was on my team, came back to the bench, and I go, hey, Tommy, I think you deserved that penalty. He goes, yeah, I did deserve that one. I said, well, did you get a lot of penalties during the regular season? He goes, I actually got in a fight once. I go, really? He said, yeah, but it was against an all-girls team. I've often thought we got to get Donnie Metz out there and mic up these kids, because it would be,
It'd be classic.
Kids say the funniest things, and everybody has similar stories.
How much do you ask your dad for advice when you're coaching? Because now that's your world.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, I'm coaching on the U15 team with Bellsy over at HC Edmonton, and
Joey.
Chris Joseph, who's the head coach of the team this year. And there's lots of advice, I guess, willingly or unwillingly, but it's regardless, I'll hear it. Yeah, but no, it's always good, obviously.
Just he did when he played.
Yeah.
Hey, he played at. Where were we? We're talking about, I think, the Bald Eagles. I heard you guys had a game yesterday, right?
Yeah, did you go?
How was it, Bellsy?
He went and played.
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, no, I know. We're trying to recruit. We need
I'm not showing up until after the kid.
You got to get your game.
I'll get my 10. Don't worry about me.
Playoffs.
And I'll be effective in the playoffs again.
Okay,
It'll be fun.
good. Yeah, we had a good.
It'll be fine. Bellsy's a part-timer.
Well, but when he's there, he's in 100%.
100%.
Right. Yeah.
Spitzy told me not to mention his plus minus, so I won't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you guys win?
Yeah.
What was the score?
11-7, I think.
And Spitzy was basically -6.
Yeah, he was right around that area.
That's good.
Yeah.
You might want to text him right about now.
Spitzy.
Classic.
Like -6 Spitz, eh?
Yeah.
But that team's like stacked with pros, and you're like, I'm just a bum on that team. Like, you played NCAA.
Well, I mean, there's so many pro guys like Bellzy and Scott Glennie, who was an 8th overall pick and who's coaching in the league as well.
Yep.
Rossi. A couple other guys.
Yeah, it's an interesting team because when we put it together, we initially said, okay, we're going to go in Division 2 because obviously there's a cast of characters there, but guys don't want it to be super competitive to the point where it gets a little bit bananas. And then we came on either this show or Hello Hockey, and we were talking about it. And then all of a sudden, somebody was listening from the CCRHL.
Yeah.
And they're like, Division 1. Like, why? Your team is too good. Division 1. They're like, man, like, now we got to try. Guys are like,
Back check.
they're back checking, which is outrageous.
Yeah.
It's beer league hockey, by the way. So, but they're like, guys will go into like systems. So, in beer league hockey, guys are, it's a little bit liberal. If you have a lane on me, I might let you go because it's beer league and we got to get up in the morning. But there, it's like not a chance. And you're like 1-2-2 and it's like you dump the puck out and you're waiting and you're just collapsing. And I'm like, what is going on right now? Like, we should just be here for fun.
Yeah.
But you guys won last year.
We did.
It's enjoyable
guys
when you
doing
get
that?
No, we weren't, but it was
You must have had a huge talent.
Spitzy was basically like double shifting guys. We had like Grayson Polonchuk, who just retired maybe a year ago.
Yeah, there's a couple of young lads.
Yeah,
out
so
there.
it's like Spitzy's out there. He's like, I'm not going. He's like double shift all these like ex-NHLers and pro players. So yeah, there was a slight skill advantage, but it was nice to win.
Makes it worth it when you got the sauna and the
100%.
steamer after.
I think
in the
that's what
room.
it's
That's a
really
pretty
about.
Good,
That's why
you got a good system.
beer league hockey.
Yeah, beer league hockey, so we can sit in the steam room and have
It's not
6
a lot
beers.
different in the NHL, Bellsy.
True.
A little more back check.
That's too good. Okay, we got a text that came in. Craig, this comes in, says, how happy did you feel seeing the Oilers beat Dallas last year in the Western Final, considering the past?
There's been a lot of water under the bridge since we got beat by them, but I know a lot of the coaches on Dallas, and I like those guys.
Yeah.
So I generally cheer for them. I was certainly cheering hard for them against Vegas, and I worked with Misha Donskoff at the Spengler,
Right.
fantastic person. Pete DeBoer, we had at one of the World Championships when we were in Germany with the Messiers. Mark was the manager of the team, so I know Pete. They're super classy guys, so I generally cheer for them, except when they play us. And it was a good run. They were tough. They were going to be a tough out. I thought they were going to be the toughest out in the conference, and proved that way.
What did you think of the Oilers offseason? Because we're starting to get into training camp. He's going to be coaching. He's coaching. We've got our shows kicking up here. We were at the rink on Monday and Tuesday. What did you think of the Oilers offseason as a former player, coach, and GM?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I didn't think there was any chance they could sign Brown, Henrique, and Janmark.
Yep.
Yeah, I really didn't think they could. And that line was a really good third line. And finally we had a formidable third line. So that was the start of it. And then to add, Arvidsson and Skinner. Mm-hmm. Skinner, I mean, I have a pretty healthy appreciation of that skill set. I mean, that guy has incredible stick skill.
Right.
I mean, he's you're not going to like him at some points of his game, but he does the most important thing in the game, and that's put it in the net. And if he gets an opportunity, which I'm sure he will with Leon and or Connor, I mean, he's he's going to fill the net. And he took less money. He's never played a playoff game. So he in my mind, made the right decision coming here. I mean, that's what I would have done. I mean, he doesn't need to make any more money. He's made a lot of money in the game, and he's going to be a lot like Phil Kessel was, I think, in Pittsburgh, where, I mean, there's some vulnerabilities in his game, but he can put it in the net much like Phil did, and Phil added a lot. Arvidsson, I mean, I really like him. It sounds like Matthias Ekholm talked him into to coming here,
right,
and taking less, and he's a heck of a talent, and he's going to be a fan favorite for sure, the way that he works, and he's not a big guy, but he gets his nose dirty and competes incredibly hard. Defense probably, we need something there down the road.
Yeah.
But I saw maybe McDermott Travis Dermott.
Yeah.
It might get. I like him. He's going to come in if he comes in on a PTO, and he's good enough where he'll excel at that level. Mm-hmm. Is he good enough to be a reliable guy in a Stanley Cup final? He's going to have to prove that through the year, but he's got a high intellect and, some decent physical skill too. Not a big guy, decent skater, but intellectually he's really good.
Oilers fans salivate for more. They want this team to win. Obviously, the drought is at 34 years. They almost had it in June. For a guy to step in on a PTO and come in and try to make an impact and improve the blue line, like how does a PTO guy do that over guys who are under contract that the GMs, I mean, I'm talking Jeff Jackson and Stan Bowman here, GM and CEO obviously signed. Like, what's a guy like a Dermott got to do, and can you get away with the Oilers blue line for a little bit with what they have right now?
Oh, for sure. I think you can, for sure. They're going to fill the net. I have no doubt about that. I mean, but Ty goes to the guy with the contract, but Dermott, I'm sure. I mean, he comes in here. Jeff Jackson knows him well from his time in Erie. Mm-hmm. Chris Knobloch knows him well. He's going to get a great opportunity, and he's good enough where he'll excel at the training camp level for sure, and early into the regular season he'll be good. They're going to like him a lot early, I predict. He's got to outplay guys like Gleason and some of those guys from the American League that played pretty good last year in preseason. That Gleason did, I thought.
Yeah, he did.
And they're kind of similar. But Dermott, he's got more experience. I know him quite a bit better than I know Gleason, but he's got to come in and try and get that 6-7 role.
Belzy?
Yeah, just like curious, you look at that offseason and you have, those offer sheets that come out, and it was much discussed across Edmonton, obviously, I guess really the hockey landscape, because you got two players that took a little bit more money. They ended up in St. Louis. And then on the flip side, you look at it and you say, okay, well, Doug Armstrong made a really good play for his hockey team. Now, why doesn't it happen, I guess, more in hockey where more teams start to throw out offer sheets? Because this is something we've seen here in Edmonton before with Kevin. And obviously, Berkey was a little upset. He was a little ruffled under the collar. But why doesn't it happen more in hockey? Because it's something that teams can do. And, I mean, obviously, we can argue about, $4 million for Broberg. Is that too much? Is not enough? Whatever that looks like. But from a GM perspective, why does it not happen more in hockey?
It's just got to be a perfect scenario. And for Doug Armstrong in St. Louis, signing them both made it really problematic for Edmonton. And, it's not something that you can really forecast because it happens so infrequently. Mm-hmm. I mean, could they have tried to trade Broberg and get a little bit more than a second rounder.
Yep.
I mean, in hindsight, that's pretty obvious. They could have and should have probably done that.
Especially when he didn't back off his demand of wanting to be out.
Yeah. I mean, Broberg, to me, I mean, he's I have not seen him drive the team. Did he play well when he got in? Surprisingly well to me. Like, I give him a lot of credit for coming in those situations, because guys with that size and that range and that mobility, they generally can play.
Yeah.
You know, they find a way to play, and over time. But I mean, it's taken him a long time, and it's not as though he hasn't had plenty of opportunity.
Yep, that's fair.
I mean, he's had lots of opportunities, so I don't see him being a driver for St. Louis. Is he going to impact them? He could. I mean, he could grow and become a top 4 guy, a reliable top 4 guy. But, you know, St. Louis has Colton Parayko and Falk and Leddy, and, you know, those guys are. Where's Broberg going to set in? What's his personality like? I mean, to me, he's not a real aggressive personality from what little I know of him.
Right.
But Holloway is a guy that I'm going to miss.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. I thought he was really adding to his game, like the speed, the physicality. He was starting to score. I thought that was a big piece, like that. At least from a youth side of things, if you have him in the lineup, like now you can kind of groom him. And when some of these guys start to, you know, are they going to be able to keep Henrique, you know, for another 3 seasons? Maybe not. Maybe he retires. But now you have a young kid in there that can now just, you know, can continue to ascend the roster.
Yeah.
Well, they must feel that his ceiling is not that high. Otherwise, I mean, to me, he changed games out there at times. With a hit, with a skill play, with his speed, with his energy, with his work ethic. I mean, they know him better than I do, for sure. And so they're making that decision based on a lot more information than I have watching a few games. But to me, and he seemed like he was a great character.
Yeah.
And he seemed like he wanted to stay. I heard that he was really upset. He thought, you know, it was quite likely the team would match that.
Yeah.
And I think he called and gave the organization a heads up. But, I mean, he's a little bit like Jake Neighbors. Like Jake's got, for St. Louis, Jake's got.
Good player.
You know, he played here with the Oil Kings. I loved him. I mean, he had all the heart and grit. Old school throwback player.
Did you have him in St. Louis when you were assistant there? Yeah.
Yeah. He was great, and he broke out this year. I mean, after I left there, would I forecast the following year he'd score 20-some goals? Probably not, but he did, and that in combination with all the physical play, all the effort, you know, the energy that he brings to the practice rink. I mean, Holloway maybe doesn't have that ceiling, but he could. They could be a pretty good combination there in St. Louis.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, you, Shawn, have an interesting view on this because you live right by the rink. You're my neighbor.
Yes.
Your dad is in the ties to the Oilers. You're a coach now. You played. You watch this team. You follow it. What do you make of everything that's happened? How do you look at them?
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to get the season going, and you know, based off of how it ended last year, it looks like they're going to have a really good team, and you know, pretty good offseason. Obviously, they got the Draisaitl contract done, so looking forward to seeing how those guys, you know, build together. It'll be interesting to see how they start. You know, having a bit of a short summer, so interested to see that, but definitely looking forward to getting the hockey season going.
Isn't it crazy that now? Well, we started the show with the 2000-2001 team. And MacT back then, we were saying goodbye to Bill Guerin, I think, during that season for Anson Carter in that deal.
Right.
Dougie Waite, like I said earlier, got traded and ended up in St. Louis, of all places. And then we're at a time now, 23 years later, where they can actually keep Leon Draisaitl and likely a Connor McDavid. You and I were talking about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We were talking about that going into during the summer. We're like, do we think that Draisaitl stays? Do we think that McDavid stays? And people are like, oh, they're leaving. But Mac, like the contrast now compared to then, for someone who lived it and has been on both sides of it, must be crazy.
Well, I mean, the building has a lot to do with it. I mean, that thing, it's one of the higher producing revenue buildings in the league, I think, like top 5.
Yeah, the beers are cheap, I heard.
Yeah.
That's a cheap shot, Tom. That's way too soon for that.
Too soon.
Yeah, that's such a great building. I mean, that thing is just beautiful. It gets rocking in there. So, I mean, kudos to the people and the fans of Edmonton, here in Edmonton, to pony up the type of resources that you need to attend a hockey game now. So, I mean, and these players, Leon, he's a sharp guy, obviously. Mm-hmm. I mean, to go to another team that has this window to win and get paid is hard, because most of the good teams are pretty tightly up against the cap. And there's teams out there. San Jose would probably give him a lot more, but he doesn't want to go there and lose for another number of years. Right. I mean, they enjoy it here. I mean, and they've seen the passion of the fans and the people. You know, they're there for a lot of years. The players never really saw the leaves on the trees. They're always gone before the leaves came out.
That's definitely something that I was going to point out, is that you look through that playoff run that we just had and how electric the fan base was. And, you know, you go outside and you see every single fan that has a jersey on, and they're honking their horns, and they're having the time of their lives. Like, I think that actually, like, when a player looks at that, they're like, man, that's pretty special. Because that doesn't happen in very many places. And you look like, and I know it's not the exact correlation, but go to the NFL and you look at some of these places that have electric fan bases, they have zero issues trying to bring in free agents. And so now when you look at the Oilers side of things, well, all of a sudden they have this run, and the fans put on a show, and they put them on the map, and now everybody's like, hey, I want to play there because that looks like it's a great time. And then obviously Edmonton in spring and summer is a pretty nice city.
Very underrated in the summers. Edmonton is good that the players got a chance to.
Winter, not so much, but yeah. You get in the spring and summer, it's nice here.
Your favorite city, Shawn, St. Louis, right? That you lived in?
I don't know if I'd go that far, I think.
I'm being facetious.
I was there.
Why, what's wrong with St. Louis, man?
There's just not that much there. When my dad got the job there a couple years ago, I made the half commitment to go down and spend the year with them, and I don't know, I maybe lasted 6 weeks.
You got homesick around Christmas.
So you're coming back in.
It's hard to leave your friends.
Winter.
I guess moving is always good in theory, but I mean, Edmonton is a nicer place than St. Louis, I thought, in my opinion, but good sports town, though, obviously.
Yes.
St. Louis is a great sports
But that's a good perspective, because, you know, MacT, like you and I were together with the Oilers for a time about 10 years ago. I got to travel around and see other cities, and you do see that, like, yes, there's beautiful cities. New York's amazing. Chicago's cool. LA is beautiful. The weather's fantastic. But there's other cities in the league, and you're like, Edmonton's actually pretty good.
Do you actually think LA is that nice?
You asked Kelly Buckberger, it was his favorite place to play.
Well, yeah, there's some good things around there.
The beaches are nice.
And I mean, the traffic can be a little tedious, but man, when you put those shorts and flip-flops on in the middle of December, it's a pretty good feeling.
Yeah.
But
the city of LA, though, is not actually that nice. The certain spots that you go to within that area are really nice.
Yeah.
But like if you're downtown LA, like you're kind of like, woof.
Well, Buffalo's a bit rough. Detroit has
nobody's signing up for Buffalo.
Yeah,
Buffalo's gotten better though. It's gotten better. I didn't mind going there, and I went there a lot because Pagula had. I mean, they built that beautiful facility. They had U.S. hockey there a lot. They had international junior tournaments. So we spent quite a bit of time there. And, I mean, the Jacobs family that owned the Bruins and Pagula, they put a lot of money in that downtown core. And it's actually pretty good down there. And I like the people.
They're great hockey fans. They're starved for a good team.
Yeah.
it actually now makes the decade of darkness here, I think, has been surpassed by the Buffalo Sabres.
They've had some pretty good players on their teams. Like I saw something right around the Stanley Cup Finals where it showed a number of players that were on Buffalo, and it's like all these guys have now either won cups since they've left Buffalo. And I'm like looking at the roster, I'm like, these guys were all on the roster at the exact same time. It's like O'Reilly was on the team, Eichel, Okposo. There was another. I think Reinhardt. He was there. There was like 6 legitimate players. I'm like, how could these guys not get to at least a playoff spot? Like you've always
was Ullmark.
Yeah.
You're always looking at Buffalo and you're like, hey, it looks like they're ready to make the jump.
Right.
Well, that was what
reason.
was so disappointing about last year with Buffalo fans, because they had some high-end skill.
Yeah.
Yeah, they looked like they were ready to take the jump.
And Tuck.
I like Tuck.
Yeah.
Good decor,
He's
power,
good.
Dolan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of pieces there.
It's a weird situation.
It's
So is
tough
that
to
just a
turn
culture
it.
thing?
Let me tell you, it's tough to turn it. When you need iconic players to turn it. You look at Detroit. I mean, Stevie Yzerman is, reputedly the sharpest guy in hockey. Certainly one of them, and he's not been able to turn it. And it's been 3 or 4 years
I think
there
we're
now.
getting up to 5 now.
Yep.
It's tough, and you have to get lucky with Connor and Leon or those types of drafts to turn it, because it's a superstar-driven league, and we had the first pick, and kudos to R&H. He's a hell of a player, but he's not in the category of McDavid and Draisaitl, and certainly Taylor Hall is not as well, and Ebbs is a really good player, but it's tough to turn it. I mean, it really is. And hopefully Buffalo with Lindy Ruff in there can get some traction, because you're right, they deserve it.
Good hockey market. We got a text that came in, Paris Jewelers inbox, 780-218-9999. It's the EST Hangout. Tom Gazzola, Sean Belle, Craig MacTavish, Sean MacTavish with you as we roll along through the morning. This text comes in, says, I'd like to know if there's ever been offer sheets tendered that weren't signed by the players and we just don't know about them. Mac, I mean, you were a GM. Like, is that something that actually
I doubt
happens?
it.
Yeah.
Because when you tender the offer sheet, you generally have had the discussion with the player that he's open to it. Mm-hmm. And so I would say no. I mean, I would really doubt it. I mean, you approach the agent, or the agent approaches you, and apparently, who's Broberg's agent? Darren Ferris.
Yeah.
Darren's a sharp guy, and I think he put it together with Holloway's agent that this was a pretty well thought out strategy by Darren Ferris. And the player wanted out, to Belle's point, apparently, and he was able to facilitate that and double his money, triple it.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
But I would say no to that text.
Okay, interesting.
Just JT Shark, just on the Nasty Chat, said that all the players that we just mentioned weren't on the same team. So I just looked it up. And so if you look at the 2000 or the 2020-2021 Buffalo Sabres up front, they had Bjork, Cousins, Eakins, Eichel, Gergensons, Taylor Hall, Lazar, Casey Middlestat, Okposo, Olofsson, Reinhardt, Sheehan, Reeder, Skinner and Stahl, and Tage Thompson. So you look at like that forward group, you're like, how did they not get to the playoffs? It's craziness.
Guy told me it's tough to turn it around.
That is true.
Yeah.
A wise man once said.
Which Jared Stahl?
Eric.
Stahl.
Yeah.
Eric, yeah. It doesn't sound that talented to me.
Here's a good one, and it comes in from Bison Mask Guy. Says, congrats, MacT, on Alberta Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. How did it go giving the speech? Because you were ill and you couldn't make it, right?
Yeah, I had COVID. I couldn't go.
Right. And So Shawn's like, I had to do a speech. And I said, how did it go? Tell us how your experience was giving MacT's Hall of Fame speech for the Alberta Sports Hall of Fame.
Well, it was pretty good. It was on short notice, so we were doing the tournament on Thursday in August, and it just so happened that the Hall of Fame induction was during the same week as the tournament. So Thursday we ran a couple practices, and Dad got off halfway through the second session, and coughing and whatever COVID does to you. And so the induction was that weekend. So I was told that the next day that I was going to have to give the speech for him on Saturday and accept the award on his behalf. So I didn't have much time to prepare. I wrote this speech on the drive down to Red Deer.
ChatGPT.
No.
More Kelly Buckberger.
Ah, nice.
GPT.
Bucky GPT.
And it was good. It was a little nerve wracking. I think there was about 400 people there, so it was a little nerve wracking. It was quick, but my opening line was, "I didn't even know that I was eligible for this award, so this has been awesome." So I got a little bit of a laugh, which made it a little easier there, but it was good. It was fun. Good experience. Obviously, good to practice that kind of stuff. So it was good. It was a good night.
Did you
had our good friend Jesse Kirschenbaum there as well? So we quick shout out to Jesse.
What about your sister?
And Brianna.
She got up and said a few
said
words.
a couple words
Siblings,
too.
they generally don't give each other much credit.
Oh, well. Did you comb your
I was
hair
much better than she was.
You comb your hair with a pork chop? I had to ask you that.
I had a coach ask me if I once combed it with a grenade, which I thought was really good. He goes, "Hey, Mac, what do you do? Comb your hair with a grenade?" I thought that was pretty good.
He has the best hair in the city, according to him.
And any girl we've ever met.
That you've got the best hair in the city?
Yeah, that's what they say.
Wow.
Tom usually asks him, he says, "Who is better,
Every time
Shawn or Tom?" And they go,
Every time I see you, it looks like you came in with the top down.
Yeah, well, that's what his mother
"Well, I do
would
have a convertible."
That's what his mother would say.
Yeah.
Shawn, you got to style that hair. Get back up there and style that hair.
Go shave.
Yeah.
No, he looked
Never.
great.
I gotta look grizzled,
Don't
Mom. I
change
can't be
a
doing
thing.
that.
Let me finish that. Bison Mask Guy congratulating MacT on Alberta Sports Hall of Fame. Shawn gave the speech, the acceptance speech, and by all accounts it went really well. But Bison Mask Guy says, fun question, who do you think will be the last version of MacT but not wearing a visor? And I think we're down to like maybe 10 guys who don't wear visors, like O'Reilly, Matt Martin maybe. Like,
Yeah.
I know that's like
I was going to say Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he is such an awesome guy and a great leader, and still has plenty of horsepower left. So he's gonna have some staying power too as well.
Yeah, like Matt Martin is he's what, mid-30s already?
Yeah, like he might be done. I can't, and I know it's been grandfathered in, like visor.
I couldn't even remember, outside of O'Reilly, I guess, I didn't even know that there were still guys that didn't even have it.
There's only a few left.
Reeves, is he?
Maybe, yeah, Reeves. is one of
Reeves
them.
would be one.
Yeah.
O'Reilly, Martin.
I don't think is there 10, you think?
Maybe 10, but like.
Well, Getzlaff retiring, obviously that's one that's
Yeah.
out.
It's like you were the last guy to not wear a helmet, but that compared to not wearing a visor, I don't think is the same.
Yeah,
level.
I gotta ask, like, how did that feel playing in a game?
Great.
Yeah.
Did you ever not play?
Yes, I did, because I'd go out for warm ups and they go no bucket. I'm like, man, this feels great.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like,
wind in your hair.
Temperature-wise,
Obviously, mine's a choice, but like, hey, you're out there and you just, it feels great.
Yeah.
But then when you get into live action, like, obviously that's
I never really got hit ever.
too elusive.
I could keep myself out of trouble.
I like it. I like it.
On the ice, for sure. But no, I was at the Lloydminster Bobcat dinner last Thursday, and I was, Scotty Hartnell was up there too as well. And they had a picture of him with his hair like this going out for a warm-up. And I go, yeah, I was the last guy, that played without a helmet, which was a little bit interesting. But what's more interesting is how he got his on. And he was really funny up there. He would have fit in well with the Oilers.
Yep.
Scotty Hartnell. It's too bad one year we were trying to get him when he was a free agent finishing up with Nashville, but we for some reason weren't able to do it. But yeah, he would have been a good Oiler.
Man, yeah, he had a lot of good years. Good, tough player, Alberta boy.
Yeah.
Anson Carter, when he had dreads.
Yeah, when he had the dreads, he could barely get that thing on.
He had a big.
And he had that mission helmet too,
Yes.
that was like extra big.
Yeah.
Just made it look so funny, just sitting on the top of his head.
Here's one more question about that team back then, because this guy's like a living legend, like Shawn is.
Thanks, Tom.
Igor Ulanov. People always ask about Igor Ulanov.
Yeah.
What was Igor Ulanov? The guy, the
Well,
player?
he was. I mean, he needed coaching, and Charlie Huddy did a great job with Igor.
Yeah.
And nobody got more out of him than Charlie and the Edmonton Oilers. And he had elite skill set. He could skate, he was strong, he could shoot, and he was coachable. But he needed to keep his game simple. Like when he got in trouble, he would start with the puck on the wall and then drift into the middle. And then, and Charlie's message to him was, you got to start in the middle of the ice and drift to the wall, because if everything gets shut down, the wall is your friend.
Yeah.
You put it off the wall. And he could pass.
Right.
But when he took it from the outside to the middle and things closed up, that thing was going somewhere. And it wasn't, it normally wasn't wearing our jersey. But he played so well for us. And then New York signed him to a huge deal, and rightfully so.
Right.
And they never could get it out of him. They never could get him to play at the level that Charlie had him playing at here. And I remember one time we called him up. He was in the American League because we reacquired him.
Yeah.
And he played 3 games in 3 nights for, I think it was the Hamilton Bulldogs, and we called him up on a Monday to play against New Jersey. His 4th game in 4 nights.
Jeez.
And he was the best player on the ice by a country mile coming out of there. And it was just amazing to me. He played, I'll never forget the game that he played, because I was expecting, okay, he's not going to have much left. And he was way better than Scott Stevens.
Wow.
He just played a phenomenal game. And I don't know whether it was a comfort level with Charlie back there, because Charlie could, he could get players to relax. And I think Koff has a similar quality to him in the way that he directs his communication with the players and the way he can settle the players down. I mean, nobody made more plays than Koff, good and bad, at times, right? But he has a way that he can settle players down and get them to play, and I thought he's done a phenomenal job with our defense here.
I have a couple of quick ones about coaching, because there's a bunch of coaches here, and you mentioned the way Charlie could communicate with a guy like Igor Ulanov. What do you think works about the Oilers coaches now? Because that's a weird dynamic if you look at it from the outside. You get Chris Knobloch coming in 5-6 weeks into the season, didn't really have a rapport with those guys. Glenn Gulletson, who's been through, I think, 3 or 4 different head coaches, but guys love him, great guy. And then Mark Stewart gets a bump up, and he takes over the PK, and he seems like he's really embraced the X's and O's. But then Paul Coffey, he's Paul Coffey, so he gets a lot of the attention, but he has that ability to speak and communicate with these guys. Like, MacT, the dynamic of this coaching staff, and then I'll ask Shawn as well. But from what you see, like, how does it work, even though it's not really best friends coaching behind the bench?
Yeah, well, they all kind of come from different backgrounds and different levels of experience with the game. But you're right. I've never really thought about that chemistry with all those guys. And, obviously it works really well, because they did such a great job when Chris came in. Chris, to me, seems like he doesn't get too rattled, but you don't want to mess with him either. Mm-hmm. That would be my impression of him from the outside. Like, he's not afraid to have difficult conversations with the team in the locker room. And to me, that's good coaching. I mean, you don't want to air your negativity about individuals in the media. And I mean, that's kind of, sacred territory, the dressing room. But you, as a coach, you have to be direct with players and you have to hold them accountable. And I think I would say that he's got that balance. I mean, if you're still not getting the response, maybe it's a tactic that at times you go to the media. Glenn Sather used to do that occasionally with players, but not very often. He was pretty loyal to the sanctity of the dressing room, but he would go after you, and he would go after, the best players on your team. He used to like to go around the dressing room and get at each guy. And
the old firing squad.
To me, and good players want and winners want that accountability. It doesn't do the team any good or the player any good to play well below a level of his capability. And good players. If you're cutting corners, I mean, you should have a problem with the coach. But if you're doing everything you can to get your game to your highest potential, then you should have an ally in the coach.
Right.
And I think Chris probably does that. Koff, I mean, I had him at the Spengler. I had a great time with him at the Spengler Cup. We had Shawn Burke that put the team together. We were loaded. We mopped up everybody. And he was great. Shawn was there with me at the Spengler, and it was a great experience. But Koff he's atypical as a coach. Like a lot of coaches are intimidated by the players, and they hide out in their offices in the computer. And Koff, I mean, he didn't have a lot of time to do that stuff, but he would be out sitting with the players in the dressing room and building rapport and relationships with these guys. And to me, that as a player, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed having that rapport with the coach. And Koff is, I mean, he's great at that. Mark Stewart, I mean, that guy. I mean, he doesn't get enough credit for the job that he did on the penalty killing, because that was amazing. Mm-hmm. And I always like to mention him whenever I'm talking about the coaches. And of course, Goalie. I mean, fantastic person, great rapport, sharp guy. I mean, good balance of some structure and also some flexibility to be dynamic for the way that I see his interaction with those superstars. And they're not always the easiest guys to coach. They can be hard and demanding. And I mean, Glenn Gullickson, I mean, they have a fantastic coaching staff. Yeah. Now, in my mind, it's going to be months before Speck asks for one of them to be fired.
So do you think that then, basically, with the new school player, that they want it to be a little bit more collaborative? Right, so it's not as what it was back in the 80s, I guess, even into the 90s, maybe even the early 2000s, where it's the coach was kind of ruled with an iron fist and it's my way or the highway. Now it's you got these players, they want they're starving for more information, they want to kind of be part of it, and so you got to be a really good communicator, but you've also got to listen to what these guys want. And like that, to me, when I look at the coaching staff, the first thing that jumps off the page for me is that they're all really good communicators. And there's never a spot where you don't know where you stand, right? Like when you look at all the different clips and stuff, and defensemen come off, they make a mistake, and Coffee is there immediately saying like, hey, well, what was the mistake that you made? Why did you make that mistake? How can we fix that? Or make a play, or whatever he's doing, but he's consistently communicating so that, there's not, these players just aren't in their own heads. And I feel like that's a big thing for these guys, because if you look 3 years ago, and we talked about this, Tom, lots, is that the Oilers defense would get the puck and they would rim it every time. It was almost to a point where it was like, man, we've got some of the best forwards in the world, and we're just rimming this thing because we can't make a play. But to me, Connor would want that puck on his tape at high speed, and now all of a sudden Koff comes in, he communicates, he enables these guys to make plays, and now they're out of their zone quicker than they have in recent memory, and it's good. And even in the playoffs, we saw the same thing. Every time they hit the puck through the middle and they made a play, they were out of the zone on Florida. Anytime they rimmed the puck, stuck in their zone. And to me, Koff just comes in, quiet confidence, make your plays, guys, make your plays, right? And he supports his guys through that. And I think that's actually what you see with Stewart and Knoblauch, and then Gulutzan. Obviously, that's why he survived 3 coaches.
Yeah.
Are you
For sure.
the X's and O's guy, or are you the Koff guy? I mean, you've been able to follow and go with Craig to a bunch of places, Shawn, and you mentioned the Spangler. You went to St. Louis. You've been around him, obviously, here in a bunch of different roles. Now you're embarking on your coaching career, working with Belzy, which is great. Chris Joseph.
Yep.
What is Shawn MacTavish, the coach?
I wouldn't necessarily say I'm the X's and O's guys. I'm the assistant coach, so I kind of just do whatever I can do to help out the head coach and Chris and Belzy. But I mean, for me, it's just I've always, as a player, I always really appreciated a guy that has been there before and has had a pretty good hockey career. I've been through a lot of different coaches, and those are always the guys that I always found were able to get the best out of me. The guys that had been there before, and guys that were, to Belzy's point, communicative. I mean, the game's obviously changed a lot since a few years ago, but the access to information, I guess, is a lot more accessible too, which helps. Got all the video on the bench, so
Did you used to, when you'd go to a Davos for the Spangler Cup, were you having fun in Davos, or were you, Craig, would you bring them in? What would you guys do? Were you starting to learn a bit about the coaching side of the business and all of that?
Yeah, I don't know how involved in coaching I was at that time, but Paul was there, and he had his kids there, so yeah, we had some fun. I actually had a couple buddies that were on the team, guys that I played with, Adam Tambellini and Matt Tompkins. So it was good to hang out with those guys. But it's a good experience.
Belzy's laughing because
I'm laughing because I've been in the Spangler too. I know exactly where you were.
Yeah. We were at the same places.
100% we were.
But no, it was a really good experience, and you meet a lot of good people. Like my dad said, Misha Donskoff was there, and he was a big, really good guy, and had a lot of information and informative. So it was really good. You learn a lot from those coaches for sure.
Okay, one more before we get to Hangout headlines. You're still involved with 0-1, correct?
Yes,
how's
absolutely.
that coming along? Because this is a monster project, and we had Coop on last year, I believe. And he's part of it as well. Get us up to speed on all of that.
So we're getting ready to open up the hockey development side of it all here. So upstairs is open, and we're taking appointments and walk-ins. We've got the sports doctors in there, chiros, physio, sports massage, nutritionists. So go on over to West Edmonton Mall in Phase 1, entrance 31. We've got the 2 floors upstairs and downstairs. So the upstairs is open, and then downstairs we're looking at being open in about 3 weeks to a month. We've got a couple mini rinks going in there, a couple skating treadmills, some strength and conditioning equipment as well. It's a 25,000 square foot facility, so we're looking forward to getting it started for sure. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, and listen, this is a massive, like I said, massive project that has a lot, and it's all encompassing. Is this just for individuals, or can teams get in?
So it's a bit of both. So we're gonna have some a lot of team contracts coming in there. Obviously, working with some of the a lot of the Hockey Edmonton groups, the HSL, hopefully a little bit, and then it's going to be individual memberships as well. Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
No,
That's at West
we're
Ed.
looking forward to it. Yeah.
0-1, check it out if you're looking. to improve your son or daughter's game, or if they need help.
Yeah, all
on the
hockey
medical
development.
side.
Yeah.
A lot of shooting lanes and stuff
the
like
2
that.
mini
Do
rinks
lots of
are
shots.
Yeah, one of the mini rinks is going to be used for small area games, skill development, and then the other rink is going to be shooting lanes. So a lot of shooting practice development, goalie development. We're really looking forward to getting started. So come on over and have a look.
Mac, where was the shooting lanes at the old Coliseum back in the 80s?
I don't think there were any.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't think. It's a nice concept, but in my experience, it doesn't get a lot of use.
Right.
Like, I don't know what the Oilers, they have a nice area where they can shoot the puck, but are they do they do it? I mean, I know for sure it helps. You know,
Well, most teams have them now inside their arenas,
Yeah.
right outside the locker rooms.
Yeah.
we had a kid on our street, Michael Barrie, who was best friends with Shawn. Shawn's best man at his wedding this
I
fall.
heard that was not fun at all.
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
The stag
Yeah, that was
that
big.
he organized. But I used to come home and I could hear Mike. He lived kind of right around the corner, but I could hear bang, bang, bang. And this guy, he would, just pound pucks, and he could shoot a puck by the end because he was a strong guy. And we had, he played for the junior Oilers too, along with Shawn. And we had him out to a practice with, and I bet Ryan Smith that Mike Barrie,
We were at I think we were doing the All-Star, the Oilers All-Star game. The skills
Oilers
competition.
Skills competition.
Yeah.
That's right. And I bet Ryan Smith that Mike Barrie could shoot the puck harder than him. And how old would Mike be then?
We were, I think we were 13.
Yeah. And, Ryan was wristing it and Mike was slapping it, but it wasn't even close.
Wow.
I don't think half of Ryan's goals ever got to the back of the net.
Well, Smitty used the two-piece until the day he
Yeah.
retired. I mean, guys were 15 years into one-piece sticks, and Smitty's got wooden blades going.
Stick to
Winky
what
still got
works.
those wooden blades.
My goodness, man.
But talk about a guy that worked on his net front game. I mean, every day at practice, he'd be out there taking some shots and deflecting pucks in. And what a competitor.
What's
Yeah,
net
he was.
front?
What's net front?
Who you trying to clear out?
I was
He went
like,
the other way.
man, no kidding. I'm like, I remember sitting there. I played against like Holmstrom and Lidstrom and those guys, and the tail end of their careers. And I'll never forget the one game we were playing in Detroit, and I can't remember who I was with at that time, but I'm battling Holmstrom in front, and like he's almost had like a flak jacket on, because he took so many cross checks, but at the same time, he's just getting his body position. He's like making you work for it. Like you're not making him work. He's making you work. And while you're trying to reef on this guy's back, because back in the day, cross checking was still good, but you've got Lindstrom like walking the line. And at one point, and I swear I'll never forget it, me and Lindstrom like locked eyes. And I'm like, why is this guy staring me in the eyes? And it was like, as soon as we locked eyes, he like moved me with his eyes. And so all of a sudden, like I went this way and he shot it this way. And I'm just like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Like dash one, back to the bench. But it was like there's those skill sets between those two guys. It was
they
so
were.
impressive.
Yeah.
And I bring this point up because like Ryan was a master in front of the net, but like guys of that era could score 20, 30 goals and it wouldn't be, 3 feet outside the paint. And because we look at Hyman and everybody was talking about Hyman and how all of his goals were in the exact same area, but that was common practice back when I was playing and definitely when you were coaching for sure. And it was just, it was
Craig
so impressive.
Simpson, too. He was unreal. Had unbelievable hands and battle ability at the net.
Like being able to, battle with a guy who's trying to tie up your stick or trying to move you, but at the same time, a guy's ripping this puck, 100 miles an hour, and you're able to get a tip on it while you're still battling another guy. Like it was an art just watching these guys. And I just don't think they get enough credit for what they actually did because it is hard.
Joe Pavelski just retired, one of the best at doing it. He'd always find a way to get a stick. I always like the white stick with the white tape too. Deceptive.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a ninja. This is the EST
He
Hangout.
retired, Joe Pavelski?
He just did.
Because he had a pretty good year, right?
Yeah, you did.
Yep.
Yep.
But I think he's 39-40 now.
Yeah, he
but
was so good at
Yeah.
the high slot deflections in front of the net. He was great.
a lot of
What a
shots.
classy guy,
Yeah.
too, I think.
Yeah, you'd be like, why did that weak point shot go in? And then you'd watch the replay. It's like, oh, Pavelski tipped
Yeah,
it.
just stick out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had that knack. All right. It is the EST Hangout. Tom Gazzola, Shawn Belle, Shawn MacTavish, and Craig MacTavish with you as we roll into our number 2. You can text us 780-218-9999, the Paris Jewelers inbox. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, get in the nasty chat. I think Belzy's keeping an eye on that. Hangout headlines brought to you by the Ranch Golf and Country Club, offering premier conditions, top-notch service, and unmatched value. The Ranch Golf Club would be a great choice for your first round or last round of the season because we're getting there, boys. So, Hangout headlines. I want to get to PTOs. We're talking about Dermott coming in Edmonton. We're seeing Barrie going to Calgary. Utah HC bringing in Kyler Yamamoto on a PTO. Also, Jared Tenorti gets a 2-way deal. I think that's also with Calgary. Here's one for you guys. You trade a goalie. You have a tandem in Boston that's fantastic. One guy won a Vezina a year ago. You trade him. You go with a guy, Jeremy Swayman, and you don't get him to a deal. What the hell's going on there? MacT, like, if you're in Boston right now, you've got to be...
Allmark's gone, and Swayman
needs a contract. And negotiations have not gone well, apparently.
Yeah. My guess will be they get it done. I mean...
Is this the player and agent grinding the team out?
Well, it's a mutual grind, I think, probably. I mean, Swayman, he had an unbelievable year last year, but, you know.
What's he asking for? Does anybody know?
I think it was like 8, if I remember.
I thought they offered him like 5 in a bit.
So they're like millions of dollars apart?
For 8 years?
I don't know what the term was, but the money
up.
average was
It was quite a bit?
3, 2.5, 3, I think, differential.
Oh,
yeah.
jeez. Okay.
In that situation, though, like, you're the GM, you're Don Sweeney. Like, are you sweating, or are you going, okay, Camp's...
Well, they're gonna see if the system is... I mean, why do goalies' value go up when they go to Boston? I mean, the system is strong.
Right.
And, you know, I'm sure they're curious. Is it Swayman or is it the system? Obviously, it's a little bit of both, but the system, I think, is, you know, whenever you see goalies' value go way up when they go to another team, I always think a lot of it is because of the style of play. And they'll find out.
Well, but yeah, and you just ship the guy out, and now all of a sudden your guy that you're leaning to is being like, no, I want more money.
What are their options now?
I can't even remember who they have. I have to look it up.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a lot in the minors either, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'm looking it up right now.
But you got to find a way to get that deal done.
Who did they get for Ullmark?
I remember we had that Mason at the. Remember him? He was in Nashville, the goalie, Mason.
Chris Mason?
Chris Mason.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he came to Germany with us for the World Championships, and he turned down a big deal. Like, he turned down a lot of money from Nashville, and then when he got to the World Championships, he didn't have a good showing there. And I mean, it cost him, you know, I'm going to say $20 or $30 million.
Because he was getting close to being a starter.
He was.
Yeah.
He had a great year. They offered him a lot of money, but you got to be careful. I mean, and they're kind of a bit similar, I would say, Swayman and Mason. I mean, I'd be leery of it. Obviously, Swayman's had a great year, and he might be the guy, but it might also be a byproduct of the system that they have. But,
Well, they have Korpisalo, who came in the deal for Ullmark. They have Brandon Bussey and Michael DiPietro. So outside of Korpisalo, they're not deep if Swayman is going to hold out.
So here's a question for you then. Okay, so they're $3 million apart. If you're Swayman, you're saying, okay, well, I can't get my 8 or 9 or whatever that looks like. I don't know the actual number, but can you say, you know what? Fine, we'll take, instead of me asking for 8 years, I'm going to go down to 4, because then I can have another potential shot at getting a bigger contract. So you play a little bit of that game saying, okay, I'll take the less money, but we're going to go way lower in terms of the duration of this contract, so that maybe my play can now dictate a bigger salary bump.
it's risky.
Or do you just say, no, I'm just trying
Swayman,
to...
he's going to try and cash in as much as he can, I'll bet.
Yeah, or are you just trying to get that 8-year deal and call it a day?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's risky.
Yeah.
You'd think there would be a compromise there, to your point, on term and money, but
I feel like that's more, and once again, we've talked about this lots, like myself and Tom, and we've talked about it on the Hangout, and that's a little bit more of what players in the NBA do. They take those deals that are like 4 years. I think a max deal, a super max, is like 5 years at the most. But then you're re-upping, and then you just add. You can consistently add more to your contract if you're clearly outplaying it. So if you're Swayman and you're $3 million apart, okay, well, I'm going to come in for 6, but I'm only going to be here for 3 or 4, and then let's get back into free agency and see how this goes again. Because then at least now maybe you might be able to
yourself.
Exactly, you're betting on yourself, and then maybe that next contract comes in at $9 or $10 million.
Team might not be as good.
Might not be as good, but you at least give yourself an opportunity to
for sure.
prove
It's
your
a bit
value.
of a team.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a team position, is like, right to your point, probably goalie, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, they protect the backside goals.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Here's another one for you, and then I'm going to get to some questions from the inbox. Tyson Barrie officially a PTO to Calgary. I still think there's a good player there. It obviously didn't work in Nashville after he got traded from Edmonton, but like, Shawn, what do you make of him and Barry Trotz butting heads? Because by all accounts, all my interactions with him were fantastic, and his nickname was Vibe Daddy. And how does a guy with that nickname and known to be a good guy butt heads with the GM to the point where he's not playing?
You got to ask the pros.
I was going to get
I know. I don't really.
But Shawn's Vibe Daddy whenever we go out. So
I've heard a lot of. I've heard a lot of good things about him. I know he's good friends with our friend Ty Gretzky, and but I don't really know him that well. But I've heard a lot of really good things, and I don't know too much about him and Barry Trotz.
Yeah, I'm forecasting a big year for Tyson Barrie. He's going to be dialed in, ready to go when he gets to Calgary, and he's got lots of game. And, I was on a trip with Tyson Barrie 3 summers ago. We went up to northern BC and ran some camps for some Indigenous kids with Tyler Ennis and RNH. And, I mean, just a fantastic guy. I mean, awesome guy. And, he's the type of guy that, when his game's on, he makes it fun for everybody. And there's not a lot of that in the game these days. I mean, everybody's on their phones and that type of stuff. It's, I was shocked. Whether you win or lose, you get on the bus, there's no difference in terms of the vibe.
Yeah.
It's really Billy Guerin, he was, Jason Smith, Doug Waite, those guys, they had a ball, and it made it fun when we were on a roll. But, Tyson Barrie is one of those guys. I'd like to see him. I'm sure Calgary will sign him at some point.
Yep.
And then he has a really good year and goes somewhere and has a chance to win a cup.
He always seems to make good friends with the players, he was good friends with McKinnon for a while. Like, he must be a really well-liked guy, obviously. He was good friends with Connor and then Matthews and
he's hard
Warner
not
in
to
Toronto. He seems like the guys, the top guys, like, hanging around him for sure.
And, whether or not that's him deliberately doing, he's, first of all, a very good player. But, just being around, like you said, MacT, and being around him, you're just like, this guy, he's no BS. Like, when the team would have a bad night, you could talk to him and he would be like, we didn't do this good, we didn't do that good. It was no sulking. It was just like, we didn't do this right. We need to be better here. Yes, it's becoming a concern. Next question. Like, he was great. And I feel like that's just his demeanor, and that has value as well. Okay, let's get to the inbox here. This is Calgary related. Goes back to your legend, Craig. There's a picture of a T-shirt that a band put out when they came through town. No FX, and it's Harvey the Hound having his tongue ripped out by Hunter the Lynx. You did a great video when I was still working for the team where you did the training Hunter how to pull the tongue out.
There was a rumor that he was Hunter going around Edmonton for a little bit.
Is that so?
I'm pretty sure I remember.
Yeah. Oh boy.
It's a thought. He's way more athletic than me, though. You see that mascot?
He's limber.
Hunter is unreal.
Yeah, he's good.
Could you imagine? It's actually Mac, and he's sliding down the railing.
No, we can't. I can't imagine.
Hey, if Michael Keaton can come back as Batman,
No
then
kidding.
MacT can come
Yeah,
back
you
as
can
Hunter
definitely
the
be
Lynx.
Hunter.
There's some people that have asked like the story about that. I know like guys from our generation know it. I remember watching that game and laughing, but for the younger Oilers fans out there, they're like, what's this Hunter or Harvey the Hound, Craig MacTavish thing? Like, what happened that night at the Salon? Why were you so pissed off at him?
Well, he was taunting our bench, and we were losing the game. And, I mean, there's enough stuff going on without having to deal with a overzealous mascot. And, you know, he was pissing us off.
Yep.
And then he came and got his fingers around the glass and was hanging on the back of the glass. And I think we were down at 4-1 at the time. And I went to grab a stick because I was going to wrap him in the knuckles. You know, because once your hand goes into the bench, it's all... That was my...
You're in the bench.
Warped way of thinking. Obviously, it was going to... Thankfully, Kenny Lowe wouldn't let me have the stick. He'd go, no, you're not... No.
Smart Kenny.
Yeah.
You knew what you were up to.
Yeah.
Kenny, the voice of reason.
Kenny listens
Normally,
sometimes.
he's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
hottest head of any of the Lows, and they're all bred pretty hot. And, but yeah, thankfully, I didn't wrap him in the knuckles, so his head was over there, and I just grabbed him by the tongue. And then we started to come back. Then we made it 4-2. Then we made it 4-3. Marty Reisner had a breakaway to tie the game late. And then after the game, it was, I remember Terry Jones coming down, and if there was one guy in the city that could sniff out a story, it was Terry Jones.
Yeah.
And he missed this one. Oof. He came in and he was looking at me like, because Brian Ross showed me the video when I went in, and so it was funny.
Right.
You know, so as pissed off as you are when you lose, it was still comedic. And so I came out for my interview with the media, and Terry's like looking at me like, yeah, this isn't right. You know, why aren't you way more pissed off than? And I was just kind of chuckling, you know, but he got it after Terry. He normally gets sniffed out the story.
It's a great like blooper top 10 moment. It always pops up. Did you ever get any heat from the league or anybody from that, or was it all good?
No.
Yeah.
I think the Harvey did.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And then one other time I was at a Calgary game, and Ken King, the late Ken King, came up to me and said, "Mac, I'll give you $10,000 right now to walk around the concourse with Harvey the Hound."
That's brilliant.
And I don't think so.
Not today, Ken.
Not today, buddy.
Is that a top 10 coaches going wild moment, or is that just top 10 funniest moments from coaches?
I think funniest would be
Because
because
you were upset when that happened, obviously, right? Like, because that's
Yeah.
so.
But it's not
Yeah.
like Robbie Ftorek throwing a bench onto the ice or Jim Playfair throwing sticks.
I
and
was in that
ripping his-
game, by the way.
You were in that
Yeah,
game?
I was in that
Playfair
game when
went crazy?
Playfair went bananas. It happened off of 2 hits.
Okay.
And both of them were by a kid named J.D. Watt. You remember? He used to play in Vancouver, right-hand shot. He was a tough guy. But he had 2 like very questionable hits, both to the head. And the second one, they didn't think it was a penalty. And they called him. He came over. The ref explained it to him. And then it just went like, it was a flip of a switch. And he went ballistic. And like, you're sitting on the other bench. You're just like, oh man, like this is great. Even his own players, if you really look at that clip, like they got their gloves over their mouths and they're cracking up. And like, yeah, like I'm watching my coach rip his tie off and he's losing his mind. And you've seen coaches go bananas before, and usually you're like, holy, okay, let's just calm down. But that one was good. Because it's the whole, like, I'm going to pull my jacket off and, like, tie's going. He almost choked himself out.
Yeah.
Like, it was good.
It's funny.
It was a good one.
Speaking of like instances, Mac, were you in that game with Terry O'Reilly and Mike Milbury going into the stands?
Yeah.
Am I remembering that correctly?
You're
What the hell
remembering
happened
that.
there?
I was at a banquet in Calgary, and John Davidson was there too as well for the Western Scouts, Western Professional Scouts. And John Davidson, like nobody really talked about it, but he started the whole thing. John
goalie.
Davidson. It was a game between the Rangers and the Bruins, obviously, and it was a great game. We had an older team, and they were a pretty good team too as well. And we had Al Secord on our team, and he was going crazy to the Swedes, Anders Hedberg and Ulf Nielsen. And, I mean, he was pretty harsh on the Swedes, and JD didn't like that.
Okay.
And the last play of the game was Phil Esposito of the Rangers had a breakaway on Jerry Cheevers to tie the game. Jerry Cheevers stopped him. Buzzer goes. We're all in Boston's end, and JD skates the length of the ice down to have a piece of Al Secord. And so both benches are on the ice for the end of the game.
Yeah.
And I see this guy walking down the concourse, and that's when the glass was not that high.
Right. I don't
And-
think some places didn't even have glass back then, even like Toronto,
Yeah, but it
Montreal.
was
Right.
I don't remember that, but it was he walked down, and Stan Jonathan was standing right beside the glass, and this guy leaned over and just suckered Stan Jonathan as hard as he could in the face.
Jeez.
And I'm going, Stan's going to kill him. And Stan, to his credit, just shook it off because you couldn't hurt him.
Right.
And so I thought, well, wow, he got away with that. And then I saw Terry O'Reilly come over, and he just scaled that glass and went up there. And then the rest, about 5 or 6 of us went in there, Brad McCrimmon, myself, Mike Milbury, Peter McNabb. And I knew the guy that did it, so I kind of had him down between the seats.
Yep.
And I was giving him a couple shots. I wasn't really trying to hurt him.
Right.
But, I mean, he deserved it.
Yes.
In my mind. So, fast forward 2 months, we're playing the Islanders in the playoffs during the Islanders' first Stanley Cup. And the Bruins, we had home ice advantage. I think we won the President's Trophy that year. And so we're on the bus in Long Island, and the guy came on, and Harry Sinden at that point was the coach. So the guy was outside the bus because he was trying to serve players with subpoenas or what I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
You serve them with
papers because they have to report to.
Been served or
You've
Yeah.
been served.
Yeah.
And Harry Sinden, I could hear him. He said, "They're all on the bus. Go ahead. Go on." The guy goes, "I don't think so."
Not a good idea.
Yeah, but it was hard getting out of there because the Ranger fans were going crazy.
That was at MSG?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were waiting. Outside for us, and I mean, they were quite concerned there was going to be an incident, but because you know what New Yorkers and Ranger fans are like.
And there's nowhere to hide coming out of MSG
No,
either,
Yeah.
no.
in that one spot.
But yeah, he went to Long Island to serve the play. I don't know whether it was Mike Milbury because he was beating the guy with a shoe.
What kind of man throws a shoe?
Yeah.
To quote Austin Powers, that is insane. So I mean,
Yeah,
that's
a wild one.
video that is timeless. Okay, let's get to this text. Jasmine says, "I want to know if these guys, Shawn and Craig, watch other sports other than hockey. What's their NFL or NBA teams?" Shawn?
I'm mostly well, thanks for the question, I guess, first. I'm not too much of a football guy. I would say if I had a team, it'd probably be the Bills. I don't know really why, just I like the small town team, I guess.
Rowdiness of the fan base.
Yeah, exactly. And a little bit of basketball. I like watching basketball. I like the Raptors. It was really good watching them, obviously, in that when they were really good. But other than that, no, not too much baseball. Not too much. A little bit of golf. We've gotten into the golf a little bit, but
Bill's tough choice.
Yeah,
I don't have to. I don't watch, so I don't.
I'm a Dolphins fan, so that's like a mortal enemy.
Okay, I didn't even.
But Raptors, great pick.
Well, thanks. I'll stick to the local.
basketball.
VR
I like
Montenegro.
basketball. Yeah. When my dad was coaching in Chicago for the Wolves, we went to a couple the Bulls games, and that was when Derrick Rose was kind of going off, and that kind of really piqued my interest in the basketball. And you people don't really like it up here in Canada, but when you get a chance to watch it live, it really, highlights the skills that these guys have, and they're, pretty talented guys. So
Giants.
it's, yeah.
MacT.
I love sports in general. I watched a lot of the U.S. Open tennis.
Yep.
I thought that was great drama. I was really cheering hard for Terry Pegula's daughter. I mean, a really cool story. The owner of the Buffalo Bills and the Sabres daughter. What was her first name? Shannon.
I'll look it up.
Jessica. I
Jessica,
think,
yeah.
But yeah, she played unreal against, a very tough opponent, Sabalenka. But that was, and I watched quite a bit of that. Golf, I like to watch all the majors and so forth, and I love the NFL. I like Buffalo too. Dallas has been my team for about 40 years, so maybe longer. But
The UFC can be pretty good, too.
UFC, we've had fun watching.
Yeah, we like to go to that.
while at Moe's place in the first round for all the UFC fights.
Yep.
That's always fun.
We got UFC coming back in a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, they're coming here, right?
Yeah, on the 20th, I think.
Heavyweight.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't follow it. One of our producers, Zach, loves it, and he says the card's kind of not the greatest, but
I thought it was the guy that took his pants off. Is he not fighting? Remember that guy?
I remember the guy took his pants off. He said, something to do with his lower anatomy being hot.
oh,
I thought he was fighting. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I thought I saw that.
Oh my goodness. That's swagger.
Man.
That's swagger.
Those guys crack me up after they have their fights. Obviously, the adrenaline's running, and some of the stuff that they say is just so outrageous. Or some of the stuff they do, I get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
That one obviously was a good
violent.
one.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar, when he won his fight, and he's like, I'm going to go have a Bud Light, not a Coors Light, and then I'm going to blank my blank. I was just like, holy man.
And that kale studded guy, he's always
exactly,
kind of funny. He's always...
Man, I get a kick out of that stuff.
MacT, what have you got going on? We're gonna see you on the broadcast. You're gonna take a little time off. What's going on? You're gonna hang out with Keith Gretzky down in Bakersfield? Because Keith couldn't stop talking about you in Calgary when we were down there.
Wow, I always enjoy my time with Keith, but it's more him coming to Vista Valley when Bakersfield's going to San Diego, because I like to go to Carlsbad.
Okay.
I'll go there for a few months in the winter. Look forward to being back on MacT Mondays with your arch rival, Stoff.
No, he's our good friend. He's a friend of the show, friend of the station.
Yeah.
Who's made a couple cameos.
He's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that. And then do a few games with Gene. When Gene calls me and says, you're in, he puts me in the lineup. And I enjoy doing those games with Gene and Struds and Gager, of course. I mean, we kind of share it, which is fantastic. But Gene and Stoff, again, fun. And Johnny Shannon, once in a while, too, as well. But other than that, not too much.
You know what's funny? I remember when you came back to the team and you're doing your introductory press conference. Stoff was in his usual seat in that old press conference room at the Coliseum. Yeah. And I think the first thing you said was, oh, good to see my agents here. I was like, I can't wait for this. This is going to be great. And I mean, the team had its struggles. There were some good times, but it was fun having you around. But
I'll remember my first time meeting him. I think you guys were doing your training camps out in Sherwood Park at that. And we were walking across the street with Bob, and you were like, hey, Bob, this is my son, Shawn. He's a huge Bob Stauffer fan. And Bob was like, oh, really? Wow. And you go, no, he's not at all.
Stoff.
Yeah,
he's got a good heart.
He's such a hard-working guy and such a good pillar in the sporting community.
Yes.
I mean, he's a huge character and personality. A lot of fun.
Yeah, we love him. Okay, you two are going to be working together, Shawn and Shawn. Shawn MacTavish, you are joining Bellsy with Edmonton HC. Mm-hmm. What drew you to working with him, And then Bellsy, what put him over the top as a viable candidate as an assistant coach for one of your teams?
No, I'm not answering that question.
It was just a really good.
It was a great fit. Actually, it actually was a great fit because we had some obviously movement on our coaching staff, and we needed guys that were obviously knowledgeable and really good with kids. And I think that's one of the biggest things because I think we, like, in minor hockey, sometimes we forget, like, they're kids. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we kind of go through it and it's like, man, we always want to win. We ought to win. And we're trying so hard to, like, get them to do stuff, but sometimes they just don't understand. So you have to have guys that can create those good relationships with the kids and, you know, obviously be knowledgeable as well. And I think that's when those players start to get comfortable, and guys like Shawn are exactly that. And that's what we need in our coaching staff. And it just adds a really good vibe. So that's why he was so appealing to us.
Oh, thanks, Bellsy. Appreciate that. Well, I mean, you know, like I was saying earlier, like, it's good to, you know, learn from a lot of guys that have been there before. So, you know, a lot of with Bellsy and Chris's, you know, hockey playing experience, coaching experience, you know, was obviously pretty attractable to me to be able to, you know, learn under those guys and, you know, just be able to kind of see what the day-to-day life of a coach is like.
Chris Joseph, obviously in the community, now coaching with you, Oilers alumni, like, he's a very easy guy to get along with. He seems like a glue guy. Like,
big
I'm
time.
Lucky to skate with the alumni. And Joe, everybody listens to him. And, like, was he always like that, Mac, when you played with him in the, I think it was late 80s, early 90s? Or was he
always
quiet guy?
Super solid guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know, made friends and was a good teammate to everybody he played with, and still is to this day. And I mean, that's the message I try and promote to players today, that you're being a good teammate is a really underrated quality, and it's something that you as a player will tap into for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. I mean, my biggest resource is guys that I played with. If I need something, there's always somebody that knows somebody that can help you out, and Chris Joseph, definitely one of those guys.
So you're on his staff. Are you going to be a vocal assistant coach? Or you're going to be everybody's best friend? Because I've worked with you with kids, and they do tend to like him. So you're always
Shocker,
good cop.
eh, Tom?
You're good cop. I'm bad cop. Whenever we're working together, I don't even know how to be a bad cop, but that's how hard it is when he's the good cop always.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just there to assist as much as possible. I'm not too sure. Yelling is or getting too upset with the kids is one of my strong qualities. I think I'm more of a personable guy. Players, I like to consider myself a bit of a player's coach. I'll leave the yelling to Bellsy if it's needed.
Me as an assistant, I like to have fun, and I'm like trying to poke guys, and I'll like twist up their jerseys, and then when they look back, be like, "Hey, pay attention." That's me as assistant coach.
Yeah, you gotta be personal, but you know, you gotta
fun.
require, you know, hard work and you know, push the kids and, you know, give them a little bit of an experience what it's like to, you know, play a level hockey in junior, or you know, what it's like to practice. You got to practice hard. There's other guys in the lineup that are, you know, trying to get in. You can't take days off. So yeah, I mean, just personable coach, I guess.
Any advice to any coaches out there watching or listening? What would you guys say to dealing with parents who can be difficult? You and I had a crazy experience in Scottsdale this year. We let Mark Siacho and the other guys handle that, but watching Chach deal with it was kind of funny.
Yeah, the parents can, you know, they have a strong passion for the game, obviously, as well, like the kids do. Thankfully, as an assistant coach, I don't really have to deal with the parents as much as Bellsy and Chris do. But there's definitely some wild ones out there for sure.
There's some good ones out there. I don't know. My message to parents is like, in minor hockey, it's going to come to an end at some point. You'll be playing junior pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And when you get to junior, for the most part, it turns into a business. So enjoy the ride. There's no point, you know, getting all bent out of shape for zero reason. You know, the coaches, whether you're in academies, whether you're in minor hockey, like, they're all here for the exact same thing, is to try to help your kids. So at the end of the day, like, you know, don't be so hard on them and just let them do their thing and just have some good communication. Because that's what it is at the end of the day. Because as soon as you get that threshold, junior hockey, well, your whole world changes. So enjoy it.
Mac, do you get a lot of people asking you for advice on the coaching side of things or with their kids?
Well, just being a dad, I was one of them. And the problem is you can't take your eyes off your own kid. Mm-hmm. And you're trying to move him along as fast as you can. And they get things, my experience now is they get things over time, right?
Yep.
You can't, it's hard to accelerate the learning curve.
Right.
And at times I would have to force myself to, okay, if this kid was my kid, I'm going to watch him and he's making, then all of a sudden you're going, yeah, he's making a lot of same mistakes my kid's making. So maybe this is their level.
You must have been watching Nathan.
Yeah.
Not here to defend himself, your poor brother.
The Heart and Hustle Award. No, it's, and then, Shawn went to Shattuck and went and lived with Mark Messier's sister in Greenwich, and played for Greenwich School for Boys, which was an unbelievable school, and played with all those and Mary Kay's kids. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I know you went to Shattuck, but
Yeah, we were in Greenwich for a year, which was it's a pretty wild place. Like, you drive down Greenwich Ave and there's every dealership that you could imagine, and Judge Judy was our neighbor. And,
what?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it was a cool spot. Yeah,
That's why there's going to be a revolt in the U.S., Greenwich, Connecticut, because it's the first town north of New York.
Right.
So the taxes are such that the Wall Streeters all go up and they live in Greenwich too, so they're not subjected to the same income taxes.
smart.
And like the estates are like, it's indescribable if you've never been up there driving through the countryside, eh, Shawn?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Did you get to
Very
meet
nice.
Judge Judy?
No, never met her. Never really saw her. Her property's so big. She's
Wow. That's insane.
That is.
What, like, during your time as a coach and player and stuff, who was the wildest person you couldn't imagine meeting, and you did meet them and you're like, wow, that was incredible? Because didn't you guys used to golf with former presidents and stuff like that?
Yeah, I played with Gerald Ford, which was, a lot of fun. And so I was the captain of the team that year. So the captain plays with Peter Pockington, Jerry Ford, and in my case it was Pat Bolin. Mm-hmm. And then we sit at the table and then Jerry Ford gets up and says a few things and wanted me to ask him a question about the Warren Commission, the commission that investigated. He was the last
JFK.
living member of the commission that investigated the Kennedy assassination.
Ooh.
And
Wow.
and Ted Green at the time, he was always a bit of he was anything but naive. And he was always a little bit of a conspiracist, and would always buy into conspiracy theories. And he, had this whole theory, so I kind of wound that into the question. But Ted was great. I loved that man. And the biggest celebrity I ever played with is a guy that is on your wall here, Tiger.
Hey, somebody told me about this. How did that happen? Was that with Wayne?
We were in Vegas with Wayne and Kevin Lowe and I, and we went out to Rio Seco to play golf with Tiger. And my good buddy Steve Laird, and Steve Slack, I tried to get both those guys in the group, but they nixed both those guys. I was like, see you, boys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm playing with
kidding.
Tiger
Yeah.
today. You guys are on your own. And so Kevin and I went out there, and Kevin, he can hit the golf ball a long way, lefty. Just smashed one off the tee, and then Tiger got up and he smashed one too. And I'm driving with Kevin, and Kevin, I'll never forget, he goes, I think I just hit it by Tager. He called him Tager. Yeah, wrong. It was about 60 yards past Kevin.
Oh, my God.
That's unbelievable.
But just the expression because it was busy out there.
Yeah.
And the weather wasn't very good, but there was Gretz and Tiger in a cart. And, Tiger knew the golf course, and he's jumping from hole to hole and going by people. And They're just the look on their faces when you have Gretz and Tiger rolling by you.
Jeez.
What are those guys like on the course? Like, you go golf with Tiger and you see him obviously on TV and he looks like he's all business, but like when he's actually on the course and he's away from the cameras, like what is he like?
He was fun. Yeah. He was interested in hockey. And I mean, Kevin made the point. He goes, I'm not surprised how far he hits it. I'm surprised how well he sees it. Jeez. Like he could see that thing. Like they say elite athletes have, a lot of them have much superior eyesight. And I couldn't believe it. Like Ryan Smith, that guy, he finds more golf balls and he knows exactly where it is. Like I played with some elite athletes and their vision is incredible. And Tiger was like, he'd hit it 300 yards with a 3-wood and he'd go get a little left, get a little, he could read it was crazy.
That's insane.
A lot of fun.
Envious of you. Obviously, a lot of people are in that situation, certainly. Okay, well, let's wrap it up with this. You have also been inducted into the Oilers Hall of Fame with Randy Gregg, and you've become Mr. Oiler. You've done it all for the organization. Round of clicks. What does that mean for you, and what do you think that night's going to be like, and will Shawn be providing the speech that night?
He's on a roll. I'd love to go back with him. But no, really going to be a short speech from me for sure. I'm going to thank a few people. And because as a coach, I always hated those long ceremonies unless it was somebody that I played with or something, These current players are going, let's get on with the game. Who is this guy? And Dr. Gregg, what? He played?
Yeah.
What? No, he was a hell of a player and a very well-kept secret just what a great athlete he was. I mean, Randy Gregg was, he could play. He was a great golfer. He was really good. We had that ping pong table. He was a heck of an athlete. But no, it's going to be fun. It's October 25th against Pittsburgh. Yep. But I'm going to be brief and get on with the game. Let's watch Connor and Leon and Sydney and the boys put on a show. But a lot of fun, and some of my best friends will be there, former teammates and good buddies. So that'll be fun.
Invite Tiger if you could. That'd be great.
Tiger, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Tager.
Tager. I'll get Kevin to call Tager. See if he's available.
You're going to see your name up on that wall of fame, Hall of Fame. Obviously, it's Craig's honor, but how cool is that to see your dad?
No, it's going to be really cool. And, he's put a lot of time and effort into the organization, so it's good to see him get rewarded for that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the Hall of Fame. I think it's a great concept and a nice way to, different from like the banners and all of that. And I think long overdue, and they've done a really good job with that. So congrats, MacT.
Thank you.
That's a tremendous honor, and looking forward to the 25th. And good luck with HC Edmonton.
Thank you. I think we're kicking off our first weekend here coming up in Lethbridge. So
next weekend.
Did you find some players?
We're getting there.
Yeah, I think we're almost
we're getting there.
We're 1 or 2 away, I think, Belsey?
Yeah.
1 or 2, yeah.
01 at West Edmonton Mall. Go check it out if you want.
01.ca. Check the website.
Exactly.
Come on over and check us out.
If you want to improve your game or your son or daughter's game at West Edmonton Mall. Belsey, we're going to be seeing and hearing from you right away with Hello Hockey.
Yep.
Let us know when we're going to be rolling that back out.
21st of September. That's the date as of right now, unless all of a sudden I have a kid. But 21st. So we're looking forward to the show. I think we should have some pretty good guests on.
We're going to have some great guests right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, Sportsnet Calgary, Sportsnet Vancouver as well, Saturdays 10 to noon. Great show, boys. That's it. It flies by really quickly when you're having fun. MacT, thank you. Shawn, thank you.
Thanks.
Belsey, always good to see you. That does it for the
Tommy.
EST Hangout. Coming up next, The Lock Shop with Dusty Nielsen and Huss right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Let's go. There you go, right in front of the camera.
First-time guest, long-time listener, fan of the original draft commissioner.
Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer. The difference is clear. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola with here. Joining us today,